Have Sam Spiegelman on the air now from Rivals.com because we just had Billy Embody on, who covers SMU and Ole Miss, and SMU had themselves a nice weekend. Sam, thank you very much for your time. How much has it changed? Not the interest, but has it changed a little bit, I guess, because of how the portal has affected college athletics when it comes to, you cover that, but also the high school rankings too?
Yeah, you think it's crazy for us. Try being a college assistant right now, and they never stop evaluating, never stop recruiting. But no, it's college football has kind of adopted almost a professional mindset when it comes to building out their rosters. If you look at the playoff teams, year in and year out, they're generally rosters constructed with homegrown recruiting, but splashed in some pretty critical transfer portal additions. It's a fast way to get instant help, veteran help. Usually, it's hard to sign a 25 or so man class at the high school level and get every box checked in terms of completing every hole on your roster. And also there's a development factor, and not every high school player is able to step in and play a signature role, but through both ways. It's completely changed the landscape of college football recruiting, and until you can master it, it's hard to play catch up if you want to be a contender.
On Rivals, you guys have USC rated right now in the 28 total commits in 2026, which is kind of well beyond anybody else, in the top 30. What has changed with Lincoln Riley recently where there's now buzz, at least among the high school elite, about going to USC, because the last 2 years have been tumultuous?
Yeah, this is going to sound so cliche, but USC has started to recruit the best talent in California. They flipped a couple of guys that were committed to Oregon and elsewhere in the Big Ten. That were committed out of state, which is, that was not a theme when Pete Carroll and the Trojans were on top of the college football world. And it's been they've certainly secured plenty of hometown 4-stars and 5-stars over the years, but not nearly the right talent. And, since Dan Lanning got to Oregon, they've been picking talent out of the West Coast and in California and the Los Angeles area in particular. And this year, Lincoln Riley and his staff, they were reinforced and driven to keep the best home. So far like you said, they're up to, they have almost 30 commitments. They're obviously not, I don't think they'll sign just that many, but a good chunk of those kids are all, a stone's throw away from campus. If you're going to, any college football program is going to, that at least competes for championships in their conference or for playoff spots, generally that roster is going to be constructed from the hometown talent and built out. Of course, there's going to be national guys left in and right for contenders. But generally, the championship model is a roster with some homegrown talent. And then USC is trying to get back to that rhythm this year.
Sam, I saw you had a couple pieces on SMU. We actually just had Billy Embody on talk about SMU. And, man, they seem to just be on a heater with all things right now. How have you seen their recruiting spike or evolve over the last year in particular with the success and also the move to the ACC?
Extended vehicle warranties. What is the waiting period? An extended car warranty or vehicle service contract usually has a set expiration. Warranty providers have introduced a waiting period. This waiting period lasts for 30 days or 1,000 miles. That means that your coverage only starts after the 30 days, or once you've reached 1,000 miles. Protect your vehicle. Sign up on Chase today.
Yeah, Billy is the best. So I wish you guys didn't have him ahead of me, so I had to fill those big shoes. But no, you know what? If you talk to recruits, the first thing they'll tell you was SMU played in a college football playoff game last year and they won a game. That's something that Alabama can't say right now, by the way. And Rhett Lashley has done a terrific job from getting back to SMU and building this program. How a lot of fans and Texas diehards would have expected this place to be humming as it is. They're keeping in-state talent home. They're keeping Metroplex guys close to home. Transfer portal, they've taken advantage because, for so long, some of the best talent in Dallas would go either to Austin or, out to USC or Oregon, LSU, wherever. But it's become way more lucrative to stay close to home, whether they're in-state or local. And obviously the success and the character of the coaches on this roster. Brett Lashley is putting SMU in the maybe the team best geared to stay here for long term. It's a young coach with a young coaching staff, and they have that continuity. They do play in the Power Four, but not the most difficult conference to compete in and year out, and then they're making the most of it. And I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
You mentioned what USC's done with a lot of the high school recruits in the state. It's amazing because not everybody has to win their state, but obviously with California, it's important. Has the timing of when schools need commitments from high school players changed at all because of the portal?
You know what? Definitely there's been a shift. Generally quarterbacks like to come off the board a little bit earlier. That's partially, you could say, due to transfers. Obviously each team is going to try to address the quarterback position almost instantly. We've seen the big transfers in the portal go off already at this point, with Nico being the most recent and that being even a little bit late in the cycle. So you're seeing most of these high school quarterbacks now off the board, nowish, the month of April, month of May, early in June. That's also due to the fact that official visits are starting in the spring. So quarterbacks, again, getting ahead of the curve for their position group for high school kids. But a lot now after these transfer portal additions, you'll see a lot more commitments from high schoolers in May, June, July. It's largely always been, before their senior seasons get going, but now we're seeing just a little bit on the earlier side of the calendar. I don't know how much transfer portal is a factor for every kid in every position. Every recruitment, of course, is unique, but certainly by late spring and midsummer, a good chunk of the incoming seniors are already off the board for now.
So is there anybody in this class that is Jeremiah Smith-esque? I mean, he's a unicorn, I know, but is Booby Feaster or someone like that that can step in and make that kind of impact?
Yeah, I think Booby Feaster is a 5-star talent. I don't know if he is Jeremiah Smith. I don't think there is another Jeremiah Smith. But Booby Feaster is definitely one of the cream of the crop in Texas's class for this year. What's great about Booby Feaster is, obviously everybody knew about this young man from the time he was 13 or 14 years old for merely being just the best young athlete to always show up and compete with kids that were, 3-4 years older than him. The great thing about Feaster is that he didn't plateau, which is always a risk when you're kind of a big national name at such a young age. A lot of places like Rivals, I think Dave Campbell's has also named him an early 5-star. You worry that sometimes, not complacency, just the rest of the class catches up. In the case of Feaster, no one has really caught up very much to him. He is still the cream of the crop with receivers in the country. He's Rivals' number 3 receiver in the class, number 1 in Texas. Just a fantastic route runner, incredible hands, verified speed. He's a gifted route runner. He competes. He can separate. He can do a multitude of different things, play multiple positions on offense. Really high floor prospect, because if you're a team that signs him, if you're, LSU or A&M, Alabama, and you sign him, you kind of know the floor of what you're getting in Feaster, which is, not to mention, of course, the ceiling.
Keshawn Henderson, a top 10 player in the country, committed to Houston. And I'm just one of those, I'm going to hold my breath until signing day to make sure that becomes official. But how much of a gem do the Cougs appear to have potentially when he signs?
Yeah, much like I was talking about with Booby. Keyshawn, played quarterback and also worked out in different offseason settings at receiver, at safety, and it was trending that he was so good playing both receiver and safety that he was a different sort of athlete. Now he of course plays quarterback for the Legacy School, and what he does playing a backyard style football is extraordinary on Friday nights. And if you haven't seen it, put on the tape. Better yet, take a drive down to Spring and see it for yourself. Keyshawn is incredible to watch. But what has separated him over the past year and a half, almost 2 years, is the advancements he's made as a passer. You've seen it at now the Elite 11 settings. We saw it at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio as an underclassman playing in that storied game. He has become such a better passer over the past 2 years to match this incredible athletic profile. As y'all know, he's just a gifted multi-sport athlete. He has incredible measurables. He can go in and be the best player on the field almost every time on a football field on Friday night, which is pretty unheard of. The fact that he plays quarterback, continues to grow better as a quarterback, and the athleticism to match at that position, the sky is certainly the limit for Keyshawn. If he sticks with Houston, he is going to, he's the kind of player that can turn a contender into a conference championship contender, into a playoff contender. He has, Lamar Jackson sort of upside as just the total package.
Sam, there are schools that are going to end up in the top 5 or 10 when it comes to high school recruiting, no matter where they are now. Who are those, no matter where, if they have 4 commitments or no commitments, that will end up most likely in the top 5 or 10 before it's said and done? Are those all the blue bloods who right now just kind of wait back and go, no, there's a big fat bird, I want to eat that one?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really what order those blue bloods come in. I think you're right. Georgia, you expect to be, contending for that number 1 spot. Ohio State, same deal. They're already on track. USC is obviously a team that we're talking about with 28 commitments sitting in the number 1 spot. Even if they don't sign all 28, and that's probably not the case, they're going to sign a top 10 class. You can expect LSU this year. Texas A&M and Texas are both gunning for really, really great classes. We talked about SMU. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a little bit of a splash. Like I mentioned, they are a playoff team, and they recently cracked the top 20. And if I could just tease a couple of my stories, they are not done anytime soon. But yeah, you the blue bloods, but you also look at the college football playoff field, the and the perennial contenders, the Clemsons, the teams that are generally getting a lot of buzz for a good season. Those are also the teams that we're looking at competing for recruiting championships this year. And I don't think it's too much of a coincidence.
Are there coaches out there that, because you have to recruit 2 things now, have become good at only one or the other, that stick out to you, that haven't really balanced it well? Like Steve Sarkisian's great at both. I mean, he gets the transfer portal guys he wants, he gets high school players, but it seems like some guys kind of fall into either I'm a portal guy or I'm a high school guy.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really comes to mind. I think you're really seeing a changing of the guard with a lot more younger coaches that kind of can understand and help these kids, as opposed to be a factor in them not getting them. But for the coach that maybe isn't so privy to the NIL side or the transfer portal side, you expect the university to come through with whether it's a general manager, whether it's an additional director of transfer portal recruiting with the college scouting side. You can't fault the coach for not being able to adapt. You have to be willing, and you have to also supply him with the resources. And like I said earlier, the teams that are competing for playoff spots, those are the teams that are doing both parts of this general managership correct, with recruiting the high school level, developing that talent, and also filling gaps on the roster through the portal.
Sam, when it comes to the Big 12, there's not a lot of separation. I mean, it's basically boils down to kind of just who has the most commits at this point in time. Right now, Kansas, the number 1 class for 26, Arizona State, fresh off the conference title, Iowa State, those are the top 3. But then there's, all the rest of the 13. I know you've written about Colorado recently. Arizona State, obviously, coming off that success, is a little hot. But who would be maybe a program or 2 or a storyline or 2 out of that league that you find of interest right now?
Yeah, I don't think Arizona State is anywhere close to being done. I mean, I know you mentioned them in having a top 3 class in the conference right now, but again, kind of following that same mold as Rhett Lashley and the Mustangs. Kenny Dillingham and that staff are They get Arizona talent. There's always really great players out on the West Coast each and every cycle, and Arizona State is now becoming a way more attractive option. But that staff is really equipped to hit SEC territory, and they are coming full throttle. Their surge into the top 3 of the conference has largely come in the past, 4, 5, 6 weeks at most. They're hitting Georgia, they're hitting the state of Alabama, they hit Florida, and they recruit Texas. And they recruit Texas very well. Dallas, Houston, Central Texas. They do a really great job. And they still have a lot of big targets on their board. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're another team knocking on the door for a conference recruiting championship as well.
Thank you, man. Sam, continue what you do. The transfer portal and high school rankings, Sam Spiegelman with Rivals.com, and also soon to be later on this summer on 3.